Hello everybody, after some magnificent sights across pre-season, it's a nice local one for us today that hasn't involved a plane or a train or any of that, well certainly not for me anyway, and it is Norwich City in their final pre-season friendly this afternoon against Greek side Olympiacos, and the team news is in and we will bring it here for you here. It is about as strong as you would expect. Norwich have Gunn in goal, Stacey, Duffy, Gibson and Yanulis as the back four, Sarah and McLean as the two central players, Fashnacht on the right, Hernandez on the left, with a front two of Josh Sargent and Ashley Barnes. Norwich City subs bench, Tim Krul, Andrew Omobamidele, Sam McCallum, Kellum Fisher, Liam Gibbs, Tony Springer, Shemiswa Poeta, Marcelino Nunez, Adam Ida and John Rowe. And there's always debate in the final pre-season friendly about whether or just how close this will be to that starting 11 that will play next week against Hull. Paddy Davitt is with me. I'm going to put that question to him. How strong is this starting 11, or how close is this starting 11 going to be to the one that we're sat here next week speaking about?
Well, barring any unfortunate injuries either today or in the days ahead leading into Saturday week, I think that's the whole 11 right there. I think we more or less, me and you certainly did, Connor, on that journey back from Austria when we recorded the last podcast, and we kind of debated what our 11s would be for Hull. And I was thinking it through the prism of what David Wagner's 11 would be, and that was it. I think I'm pretty much sure that was where we went with it. Sarah alongside McLean in a more deeper double pivot role, with Fashnacht on the right. Hernandez, that's good because he missed the Toulouse game with a bit of stiffness in his joints, but he's fine. And Omobamidele as well, who went over on his ankle right at the end and went off prematurely that last minute or so at 120. He's on the bench, so he's clearly fine fitness-wise. So no Sorensen, which was the one that coming out of the tour David was a little bit concerned by. He had a sort of reoccurrence of those groin-related issues that meant he didn't travel to Holland the week before. But him aside and Boha Sainz aside, that's the 11 who line up here against Hull, I think, with the caveat, obviously, we don't get any unfortunate injury-related issues. I really don't see another option in that back four as it stands, as good as Fisher has been, as eye-catching as he has been.
The only two, I guess, that are missing, that obviously we're missing in midweek as well, Max Aarons and Milo Rashica, both not in this starting lineup, which again probably doesn't come as a surprise given what we spoke about in midweek as well.
Yeah, no, that's just a when rather than if, I'm pretty sure. I mean, there's fresh talk today that the clubs have agreed, Norwich and Galatasaray with Rashica. We'll put that to David after the game, but didn't expect to see him here today, and if very, very large media outlets in Turkey are reporting that it's pretty much done and it could be confirmed next week, then I would imagine it'll be see you later, Milo. He didn't look like a man in Austria when he was there who thought he was going to be playing any part of it as he peered out through his hoodie at Kufstein. And with Aarons, well, again, the mood music was set by him and by Stuart at the start of the summer that this was probably the right time to move on. Maybe there isn't the quite sort of finality to it as it stands with Rashica, but we're still a month away from the end of the window. And Jack Stacey has been one of the standouts in pre-season and certainly of the new intake. So Stacey will be Norwich's right back, and Max Aarons won't, and neither will Milo Rashica. So David may confirm a little bit more on those two after the game. But why would you include two players who, if all the planets align, aren't going to be part of it this season? It makes no sense.
No, I would agree, and obviously Kellum Fisher. I mean, we've spoken countless times about what he's done in pre-season, been really impressive. Basically, pushed himself through, hasn't he? He was earmarked as a development signing, and he's been involved with the first team all throughout pre-season on the bench this afternoon. It's quite a young Norwich City bench, in truth. Omobamidele, Fisher, Gibbs, who's probably still recovering from his 120-minute epic on Wednesday. Tony Springer, who's impressed David Wagner in pre-season, and then obviously Adam Ida, who's still a young footballer, and John Rowe as well. Is there a little bit of surprise from your perspective that he's gone Hernandez over Rowe in this 11? John Rowe has made strides in pre-season, probably without maybe the output. I know he scored at Barnet, but in terms of kind of tangible goals and assists, maybe not too many. That being said, neither really is Hernandez. That feels like quite a close race at the moment for that side.
Yeah, no, what I would say with that is that the fact that Onel didn't feature midweek, and they were very clear, you could see how they were managing the minutes. David kept talking about this 80-minute benchmark, getting 80 minutes into these players. And Onel hasn't featured midweek. That'll be the main factor there.
Sorry, I was just going to jump in. So another name not in this squad, Christos Scholes, who is not on the bench. And he was pretty good. pretty good in midweek. I think it's maybe been overblown a little bit, his performance, but he was certainly good. Doesn't even make the bench today. Springett on there, Poeta on there, Rowe on there. Does that show where he is in the pecking order? And I guess what does that suggest about his future moving deeper into the summer towards a new season?
Well, I wouldn't. I don't, subject to speaking to David and him saying different. I don't think we want to jump to that conclusion today at this stage. Might just be a fitness-related issue. Hernandez came out of his thinking for the Toulouse game as a precaution. Felt a bit of tightness in his legs. Might just be the workload with Jolis. So I think until we as we will put that one to David, I've not seen or heard anything to suggest that there's anything transfer related around that player at this stage. Although I wouldn't be at all surprised if he does move on, either loan or permanent, because if I look over the entirety of pre-season and how many minutes Jolis has actually played compared to those other wide players who've been available, that to me is a pretty clear signal of David Wagner's thinking and that he hasn't done enough to be a frontline option. But the fact he's not on the bench, that would lead you to think there's a reason why that is the case. And at this stage, I think I'd probably tip more towards a fitness-related than anything transfer-related.
Yeah, and we'll get that confirmed after the game. I'll bring you the Olympiacos 11 with apologies in advance if any of the players happen to watch this and listen to me absolutely butchering their surname. So hopefully we'll be okay. They've got Shalakis, Ramon, Retsos, Entoy, Rodini, Ibora, Bukalakis, Kamara, Varusai, Masuras, and Pep Beal. I think we're there. I've definitely got a couple of those wrong, but that's how they're lining up. They've just appointed a new head coach called Diego Martinez. They had Carlos Corberan for a portion of last season, now at West Brom, and they also had Michel, is it, who was a Real Madrid footballer, which maybe some people will know. We'll read this from Jonathan. If they sell Rashica and Aarons, do you think they'll save that money for the next transfer window? That's a good point.
Well, I'll put that one to you because I think you're on the same page as me with that, and we don't get the sense that they will because of the options they've already got in the building or they've brought into the building. No, I don't see that. Conversely, different to Anoma Bamadelli, he goes, they definitely will do a centre-back. So my opinion would be no. I think they might keep that money up their sleeve. And, as we discussed on the pod as well, you can always, between now and the end of the window, get an injury. Unfortunately, they've already felt that with Borja Sainz, Grant Hanley towards the end of last season. It can happen. They need to do something trigger. And if they've got a few quid to play with, I think Stuart even referenced that in the end of season interview he did with us, that when they bank these type of funds, it might be the rainy day fund, mightn't it, rather than it's a signal, as it felt with Mumba, that money was being reallocated rather swiftly to bring in Fastnack. But how do you see that if they got those two and got money?
Yeah, no, I don't see them being reactive to a Milo Rashica exit, to a Max Aarons exit. I mean, you look at that squad, the fact that those two aren't in it would suggest they are fairly happy with where it's at. I would suggest if we had come into this friendly and Milo Rashica was on the right and they hadn't got Fashnact in the building, I think it probably becomes a different debate. But I mean, those wide positions, just in this matchday squad, Fashnact, Hernandez, Springett, Poeta. We've seen Adam Eder play on the right for a portion of last season. Admittedly, he's not a winger, but John Rowe as well, definitely in that category. Christos Jolis not here. They've got enough bodies in that area of the pitch for me, injury permitting. And then right back as well, we've already spoken about Jack Stacey and Kellen Fisher, probably been two of the best performers in pre-season so far. So you wouldn't necessarily be looking to dip into that right back pot. And even then, I mean, if you were buying someone to kind of back up Stacey, what does that say to Kellen Fisher after the pre-season that he had? You're blocking a development path. And like you say, I think it's a good point. The money could be allocated elsewhere. But also, there are different areas of the club that they can use it on. They've got various bits to pay for. They can use it on infrastructure as they have before. They can use it for upgrades to accelerate planning that maybe they have at Colney or in and around Carrow Road. So I wouldn't expect to see Norwich go back into the market on the back of those two players leaving if they were. Obviously, as you've mapped out there, a very different conversation if Andrew Omobamidele departs, because that would leave them short. It would leave them one option short in centre-back, essentially, especially with Grant Hanley out. Jonathan Tompkinson is injured as well. Interesting that Jaden Warner hasn't made the subs bench as well. He's someone that David Wagner wanted to have a look at in relation to that fourth centre-back slot. So that's the only one for me that and again, barring injury, it's the only one that I see Norwich dipping back into the market for. And it probably creates an interesting discussion around that centre-back spot, right? Because, I mean, we've both said that this is probably the starting 11 that we'd expect to to feature next weekend when Hull come to town, the Championship season opens. Omobamidele isn't in it. What do you make of that? Is that going to make him, I don't know, more? I don't know. Is his feet going to be even more twitchy about maybe his future this summer because of that and what he's seen so far of pre-season?
I mean, it's an interesting. It is in general terms what David's thinking and seeing with those centre backs. I mean, you do have obviously the natural balance and the experience with Duffy now on the right and Gibson on the left. But if you were going to push me, who are the two best centre backs from those available? I think I'd have Omobamidele +1 because I just think he's got that growth potential alongside a more experienced player. We saw when he first came into the side alongside Hanley. I'd like to see him with a Duffy. I think that would really bring him on because I think he has gone into, for the last 12 months, for me 18 months, maybe a bit of a holding pattern. He's had those injury issues and that doesn't help, to get that rhythm in your game, and he's even had and none more so than midweek, there was a little bit of a scare there that he's not really had the smoothest of pre-seasons either in terms of the fitness. Started a little bit later. He was sort of treating those groin related issues over the summer. It was on a special individual training program. I think he wasn't there from the start at Colney. I think he was off in Portugal doing some individual fitness training, and maybe all that comes into the thinking why it is, as it would seem, Duffy and Gibson for now. And of course, although it doesn't feel there's anything imminent, in the background there is a growing sense that between now and the end of the window he may no longer be here. So again, like with Aaron's, like with Rashid, so if you're David Wagner and you're thinking, who am I know I'm going to be working with over the entirety of the next 9 months, maybe you want to bed in, because he is a new player, Duffy and Gibson, and have that understanding because they're going to be my go-to in this first phase of the new season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know we've spoken about grass and pitches a lot in this pre-season and kind of assessing them, but I mean, you said it. I think I said it to Adam as we came up. The pitch is looking absolutely glorious. This certainly looks the best nick that it's been in at the start of a season so far. I mean, particularly as we look down this corner here, just in front of us, with the sun coming off it. It looks a really, really good surface. So
Neil's asking for a panoramic view, but
it's a risk, Neil.
Pull the wire out. We'll do it. We'll sign off that way.
Well, yeah, we'll sign, and then if it goes, it's fine. But oh, there you go, Adam. There we go. You can see the pitch and some new blue advertising hoardings over there.
You're very keen on the blue, aren't you, Connor?
There's a lot of blue in here now.
Sky blue, so I don't mind it.
Well, it's quite nice of you to look over there. But yeah, the pitch. Anyway, it's looking significantly improved, isn't it? As they always do, I guess, at the start of the season.
Yeah, that's a tremendous looking surface. Yeah, you boys were here for the Arctic Monkeys concert, weren't you? So
yeah,
I
played on it as well.
Yeah, was that after or before that concert?
What
was the last action on it?
That was before, yeah.
So they've had that whole period, haven't they? And obviously this is the first pre-season game on here, so if it's not looking a good nick now, it's never going to, is it? Yeah. So no, there'll be no excuses about zipping it across the turf, which, to be fair, not that they were making excuses, but I think there was a few eyebrows when the Norwich players turned up at Gulfstein the other day. Not only the dimensions of the pitch, which were both much longer and wider than this surface, but I think they were very unhappy. Certainly Andrew Hughes was very unhappy, wasn't he, and vocalised it to the ground staff.
I know he's there
was a few choice words there, that the grass was too long and get some water on it, but there's certainly been no excuses today. That looks like billiard table proportions.
Yes, final pre-season friendly. I mean, you've seen quite a few over the years. How good is this? And actually, we mentioned Jonathan Tompkinson. He's just emerged actually, and slight limp, but he's kicked a football, so hopefully that's a good sign. You've seen a few of these over the years. My mind always goes back to that one against Brighton where Marley Watkins scored a few years ago. Yeah. So maybe that indicates.
I think Ben Marshall played quite well one pre-season.
Yeah, we know that was going to be the question. How? Because I think everyone looks to the final pre-season friendly, perhaps more so than the others, as being one of them that being the one, that probably holds the most weight as you head into the new season. I mean, is that the sense that you get a really good test here today against what is the most successful side in Greek football history?
Forgive me, what did they do in Greece last season?
They finished third behind AEK Athens and Panathinaikos, which for them is a poor season. So they're looking at Europa League football next season.
But they won at Ibrox, didn't they, midweek? Right. So, win, lose or draw today, it doesn't concern me in terms of what it means for Hull.
Performance, does that?
Yeah, that's the key, yeah. But then if you lose and you get beat heavily, then, it maybe raises an eyebrow, given we think this is pretty close to his 11, if not the 11. But I mean, David's the one who matters in all of this, and depending on what he says after the game, as the keepers come out now to polite applause. No, I'm not bothered really about the result today. I think, David spoke to us through these last European legs, and he sat down in his diary room, didn't he, with the club out in Austria, and he feels it's moving along in the right direction and things have come together. But you never know, do you? It's talk is cheap. Let's see it when 3 points are at stake next Saturday, and particularly set against a backdrop of what an horrendously difficult place this has been to play football and watch football over the last 6 months, 12 months, maybe longer. They need to shed any vestiges of Carrow Road again, and fans and players disconnected. Yeah. That has to come back together and moving forward. And the only way it's going to do it, I'm afraid, is not a new signing. It's not positive words. It's not, the sun shining and the grass looks perfect for football. It is actually a cohesive strategy with and without the ball that is good enough to start winning games. And that's the only way we're going to move forward, I think, under David Wagner and this football club and this fan base. Yeah, now we don't do score predictions in pre-season. We're going to save that for next week. But what we are going to do is thank you as the team sheets here. Thank you very much. What I am going to ask you is your prediction for the minute in which Ashley Barnes is going to be booked this afternoon. Today, let's say 38. 38. I think he's going to wait till the second half today. I'm going to go 62. Will he be on that long though? I think surely they're going to get a lot of minutes into the late. Not if these are the 11 he wants for next week. But then, like you say, the bench isn't exactly full of options, is it? I mean, Adam Eder could maybe come on for him. I don't know, mate. We'll find out in due course. But, I'd have a pound on him getting a yellow card. But I'm not going to specify which minute now. There we go. Lovely stuff. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy it for coming down to Carrow Road today. A really lovely day to watch some football. I think they're expecting over 10,000, aren't they, here this afternoon. Just to run through that Norwich City team for a final time. Gunn in goal. They've got Stacey, Duffy, Gibson and Yunulis as the back four. McLean and Sarah as the midfield two. Fashnacht on the right. Hernandez on the left. And Barnes and Sargent up front. Pinkin.com, the place to go on live blog duty today. So come and join me over there and join the debate and the discussion. And we will obviously bring you all the analysis, reaction, words from David Wagner after the game. Thank you very much for watching. Pre-season ends here.